Chapter 19: Consumer Concerns about Foods and Water. Here are your learning objectives. Food safety concerns. Foodborne illnesses. It's the leading food safety concern. Outbreaks of food poisoning are higher than any other form of contamination, making it the FDA's top concern. It affects millions of people each year. Additional food safety concerns include nutritional adequacy of foods, environmental contaminants, naturally occurring toxicants, pesticides, food additives, and water safety. Foodborne illness, an illness transmitted to human beings through food and water, caused by either an infectious agent, such as foodborne infection, or a poisonous substance, like food intoxication. It's also known as food poisoning. Most vulnerable to foodborne illness include pregnant women, children, elderly, chronically ill, and malnourished. Most can be prevented by storing and cooking foods at their proper temperatures and preparing them under sanitary conditions. Common causes of foodborne illnesses: Campylobacter, Clostridium perfringens, E. coli, Listeria, norovirus, Salmonella, Clostridium botulinum, and Staphylococcus aureus. We'll focus on Clostridium botulinum because that causes botulism. Sources: anaerobic environment of low acidity. Examples include canned mushrooms, beans, corn, asparagus, chicken, tuna, and lunch meats. Canned foods are a big one because no air is required. Symptoms include double vision, inability to swallow, speech difficulty, and progressive paralysis of the respiratory system. It is often fatal. The best way to treat foodborne illness is to prevent it in the first place. This slide gives you some tips and preventative measures. You want to cook meat thoroughly and use a thermometer. For example, how pink a meat is not a foolproof measure of reaching proper temperatures. Some meats will brown before 160 degrees and others will stay pink after 175. Use sanitary food handling methods. Wash your hands, utensils, and counters with hot, soapy water. Avoid cross-contamination. Contamination of food by bacteria that occurs when food comes in contact with surfaces previously touched by raw meat, poultry, or seafood. Cross-contamination is a big one. You want to be mindful of which plates and knives you've used and always clean your surfaces. Avoid unpasteurized milk and juices. Refrigerate foods promptly. Thaw foods in a fridge or microwave. And avoid cans and containers which are dented, bulging, or leaking. They cannot protect against microbes, insects, spoilage, etc. Environmental contaminants have increased due to increasing population and increasing industrialization. Industrial processes pollute the air, water, and soil by creating contaminants, which are substances that make a food impure and unsuitable for ingestion. Industries pollute air, water, and soil. Plants then absorb these contaminants. Fish and seafood are exposed to polluted water. People then consume said plants, whether they're grains, vegetables, fruits, legumes, or consume the livestock that consumed the plants, and therefore they are being exposed to the contaminants as well. Industrial processes can be anything from mass production farming, manufacturing plants, whether it's cars, clothes, etc., gas and oil, fuel and electricity, transportation, airports, etc. How harmful a contaminant is depends on its persistence. Persistence, the extent to which it lingers in the environment or in the body. You have short-lived versus long life. Short-lived are easily broken down, could be by oxygen or sunlight, or the body rapidly excretes it. Long life, so they resist breakdown and accumulate to greater concentrations without being metabolized or broken down. So these long-life contaminants have this buildup or accumulation called bioaccumulation. Bioaccumulation is the accumulation of contaminants in the flesh of animals high on the food chain. Each level of the food chain has a greater concentration than the one below. Bioaccumulation of toxins in the food chain. So again, bioaccumulation is basically the buildup, so accumulation is literally in the word, of contaminants through the food chain. Level 1, or the bottom, you've plant and animal plankton get eaten by small fish. Level 2, small fish get eaten by bigger fish, and so forth, and then humans eat the big fish. So as you go up the chain, the more contaminants there are. Pesticides. Pesticides are chemicals used to control insects, weeds, and fungi on plants like fruits and vegetables. This helps ensure the crop survives, but it leaves a residue on the crop. EPA and FDA evaluate risks versus benefits. Balancing benefits versus risk is an ongoing challenge. Farmers in the United States and products imported from other countries must follow regulations. Tips to minimize pesticide residues. When shopping for foods, select fruits and vegetables that do not have holes or bruising. Select a variety of foods to minimize exposure to any one pesticide. Consider buying certified organic foods when shopping for produce most likely to be contaminated. Some people suggest organic for the Dirty Dozen, but not for the Clean 15. Page 628 has the list of those foods. Tips to minimize pesticide residues when preparing foods. Wash your hands for 20 seconds with warm water and soap before preparing foods. Trim the fat from meat and remove the skin of poultry and fish. Pesticide residues concentrate in the animal's fat. Wash fresh produce in warm running water. Gently rub soft produce or use a scrub brush on firm produce and rinse thoroughly. Use a knife to peel an orange and grapefruit. Do not bite into the peel. Discard the outer leaves of leafy vegetables such as cabbage and lettuce. Cut away damaged or bruised areas. Wash fruits and vegetables before peeling to avoid transferring dirt and bacteria from the knife onto the produce. Peel waxed fruits and vegetables. Waxes don't wash off and can seal in pesticide residues. Waxes help prevent water losses and therefore help prevent shrinkage and spoilage. Examples include citrus fruit and especially apples are a big one. Peel vegetables such as carrots and fruits such as apples when possible. Peeling removes dirt, bacteria, and pesticides that remain in and on the peel, but also removes fibers, vitamins, and minerals. Food additives. Additives are added to foods either intentionally or by accident. May provide benefits including reducing risk of foodborne illness and preventing spoilage. Intentional additives are put into foods on purpose, whereas indirect additives may get in unintentionally before or during processing. The FDA regulates food additives, and their main focus is safety. Risks versus benefits. Like with anything, you must weigh the risk versus benefits on making a decision. Additives are used in foods when they offer benefits that outweigh the risks or make a risk worth taking. Examples: color additives would not be worth a risk at all if all it did was enhance appearance. Use of nitrites in meats to inhibit formation of the deadly toxin botulinum may be worth a risk. Intentional food additives are added to foods to give them a desirable characteristic: resistance to spoilage, color, flavor, texture, stability, or nutritional value. Antimicrobial agents. The most common ones are sugar and salt. It prevents microbes from growing and spoiling food. Salt is used to preserve meat and fish. Sugar is used in canned fruit jelly and jam. It works by capturing water and making it unavailable to the microbes. Antioxidants. Vitamin C and vitamin E are added to prevent oxidation. BHA and BHT are used in baking goods and snacks. Oxidation is when food goes bad after exposure to oxygen. Vitamins C and E, BHA, and BHT protect against that. For example, sliced apples turn brown because they're exposed to the oxygen. Colors. You can enhance colors and can help people identify flavors. So the enhanced colors makes food more appealing. And as far as flavoring, if you had, let's say, jelly beans, you know that a yellow one would be lemon and a black jelly bean would be licorice. Intentional food additives. Flavors. Natural flavors, artificial flavors, and flavor enhancers. Manufacturers add these to foods to enhance flavor. Some natural spices and herbs provide antioxidant protection as well. Sugar alternatives or artificial sweeteners give sweetness with less calories or no calories at all. Nutrient additives maintain nutrient quality and fortify foods. Adding nutrients like B vitamins to refined grains or iodine to salt or vitamin D to milk all help to improve nutrient quality. Moving on to indirect food additives. Indirect or incidental additives are substances that get into foods during harvesting, production, processing, storage, or packaging. Acrylamide, a compound that forms when carbohydrate-rich foods containing sugars and the amino acid asparagine are cooked at high temperatures. For example, French fries. Other examples include potato chips, breakfast cereals, and cookies. At high doses, can cause cancer in animals and nerve damage in people. Food packaging. Packaging materials might migrate into foods. Materials include coatings on can interiors, plastics, papers, and sealants. Packaging particles or contaminants can potentially seep into the food, especially with microwaving, like pizza or Hot Pockets that come with a package or plate to microwave it in. Methylene chloride removes caffeine from coffee beans. Trace amounts can be left on the final product. It's potentially a human carcinogen, meaning it may potentially cause cancer. Hormones. Given BGH, animals produce leaner meats and dairy cows produce more milk. Hormones are unique in that they are intentionally given to the animal, but are unintentionally in the final food product. Antibiotics. Given to prevent or treat diseases common for animals living in crowded conditions. Like hormones, antibiotics are also intentionally given to livestock, and residues may remain in the meats and milks. Biotechnology. The science of manipulating biological systems or organisms to create or modify their products. Genetic engineering. The intentional manipulation of the genetic material. Genetic engineering is a form of biotechnology. It allows scientists to insert or modify the genes in an organism to express a new trait or change the expression of an existing trait. Possible benefits of biotechnology. Extending shelf life, less product waste, and greater profit for companies. Improved nutrient composition through biofortification. Biofortification genetically alters the plant, similar to fortification, but it happens during the growth of a plant and it's not added after. More efficient food production to save time and money. Efficient drug delivery. For example, a goat that has been genetically modified to produce a malaria vaccine in its milk could provide both nourishment and immunization. This would be helpful for a village of people who may lack food and medical help. Genetically assisted agriculture. Increase crop yield, extend growing seasons. Other possibilities include things like producing milk without allergens or removing gluten from wheat, etc. Potential risks include the disruption of natural ecosystems. New genetically unique organisms have no natural place in the food chain. Introduction of diseases. Mutations may cause new diseases that may become resistant to antibiotics. Introduction of allergens and toxins. New allergens to our system which are unfamiliar to us and we don't know how to treat them. Creation of biological weapons. Creation of fatal bacteria or viral disease to be used as a weapon. Ethical dilemmas and rigorous safety testing. You must prove its safety, but it's time-consuming and expensive. How will we know what the effect will be in 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, etc.? And that concludes chapter 19.